Have you ever just sat there and dreamed of hitting the reset button on your life? I don't mean just a new job, I mean a total redesign, trading that 9-to-5 grind for real financial independence and swapping your backyard for, well, the entire world. If that sounds like you, you're in the right place, because today we're diving into a real-life case study of someone who did exactly that, starting in their mid-40s. We're going to walk through their entire 5-step blueprint for building a completely new nomadic life.
Okay, but before we jump in, we've got to get the serious stuff out of the way. This is super important. This case study is for you to learn from and be inspired by, but it is not financial, tax, or visa advice. You have to do your own homework and talk to licensed professionals who can help you with your specific situation. Seriously.
So let me ask you a big question, and really let this sink in for a second. Could this be your dream life? Imagine it, splitting your year between a couple of different countries, never seeing a harsh winter again, being totally free from a traditional job and just living life completely on your own terms. It's a huge idea, right? Well, for the person in this case study, it went from being a dream to a rock-solid plan.
All right, so here's the game plan. This is the 5-step blueprint we're going to break down. We'll kick things off with a much-needed reality check. Then we'll get into the fun part, choosing your base. After that, we'll talk about building your paycheck, navigating all the legal stuff, and we'll wrap up with what is, without a doubt, the most important step, defining your why. Okay, first up, step 1, the reality check. This is where the rubber meets the road. Before you even think about booking a flight, you have to get brutally honest with yourself about your career, your business, and your money. This is where the dream gets real.
So what does that actually look like? Well, you've got to figure out where the money's going to come from. Can you take your current job remote? Or are you going to start a new online business from scratch? Maybe you've got some rental properties that can pay the bills. You know, the case study even mentions friends who bought a laundromat in Belize, so they're still working, but they're doing it in paradise. Or will you be like the person in our story and live off an investment portfolio? And the other big question, is this a full-time move or a part-time escape? Every one of these answers completely changes how you build your plan.
All right, let's get to the fun part. Step 2, choosing your base. This is where you get to spin the globe and pick a new home. But, and this is a big but, you have to think like someone who's going to live there, not just someone on vacation. The criteria are way different.
First things first, let's talk money. It's so tempting to just Google cheapest countries to live in, right? But the case study makes an amazing point here. Don't just chase the lowest cost of living. What you save in cheap rent could cost you a fortune in stress if the power is always out. It's all about finding that sweet spot between cost and quality of life. For the person in our case study, that sweet spot was Colombia. Even with top-notch private healthcare, it was way more affordable than back home in Canada. And you've got to ask, can a foreigner even rent or buy a place easily? These are the big questions that shape your entire budget.
Next are the practical things, the stuff that can make your dream life a total nightmare if you get it wrong. I'm talking about things we totally take for granted, like electricity that stays on, clean water from the tap, and most importantly, rock-solid Wi-Fi. If you're working online, good internet is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. And when it comes to safety, the advice from this case study is pure gold. Ignore the country-level stats. Safety is all about the neighborhood. You can find sketchy areas in the safest cities and super safe spots in cities with a bad rap. And finally, how fast can you get home if you need to? For the person in our case study, Asia was off the table because a 24-hour flight during an emergency was just too much.
And this might be the most overlooked piece of the entire puzzle, the personal fit. I mean, can you actually get the food you like to eat every day? Are you really willing to learn enough of the local language to pay your electric bill or talk to a plumber? Because just speaking English is often not going to cut it. So, what's the solution? Do a test run. Don't just take a 2-week vacation. Go live there for a month, maybe even 2, before you sell your house and make a huge commitment. Okay, on to step 3, building your paycheck. We've got a potential location, but how are we going to pay for all this? This is the engine that drives the whole machine, and it has to be reliable and accessible no matter where you are in the world.
And when it comes to funding this kind of life with investments, you've basically got 2 main camps. The first is what you could call growth and sell. You buy things you hope will go up in value, and then you sell off a little piece each year to live on. The second method, which is what our case study focuses on, is the steady income approach. This is all about building a portfolio that's designed to spit out cash, like a monthly paycheck, without ever having to sell the original assets.
And to really get this strategy, the case study uses this brilliant analogy. It says that building your income is like building a hybrid power grid for your house. Think about it. If you only have solar panels, what happens when it's cloudy for a week? You're left in the dark.
The goal here is to build a system that's way more resilient than that. And this makes it super clear. The person's system has multiple sources. The solar panels, the main source of passive power, are a bunch of high-yield ETFs. Their wind turbine, another consistent source, could be something like a rental property. And their backup generator, which they can fire up anytime they need a boost, is some occasional consulting work. See how that works? All of them together create a reliable flow of income.
So, what does all this add up to in the real world? What's the bottom line? Well, for the person in this case study, their income grid generates, on average, about $7,000 a month. That's the real number that funds their entire life across multiple countries.
So you're probably wondering, okay, how? Well, their portfolio is built with things called high-yield ETFs. They're basically just baskets of investments that are specifically designed to pay out regular income. Their goal is an 8 to 12% annual return. You can see a few examples from their portfolio right here. Things focused on high-income stocks, real estate, banks. Now, big flashing lights here. This is not financial advice. It's just an example to show you the kind of tools you can use to build that monthly paycheck.
Oh, and here's a super practical but incredibly important tip. Your investment broker basically becomes your new payroll department. So you need a platform that has low fees and that you can easily use from anywhere on the planet. The author of this case study uses Questrade because it's cheap and easy to manage while living overseas.
All right, let's talk about the part that can feel a little daunting. Step 4, navigating the legalities. It's amazing to build that income stream, but it doesn't mean a thing if you don't have the legal right to live where you want to live. This part is all about paperwork and patience.
You really have to do your homework here. How long can you legally stay in a country on a tourist visa? What other options are there? A lot of countries now have retirement visas, digital nomad visas, investor visas, a whole menu of options. And hey, guess what? A lot of them require you to prove a steady income, which brings us right back to step 3. The person in our case study shared a perfect cautionary tale about getting their visa in Colombia. They tried to do it themselves to save a few bucks, and it turned into a total nightmare of confusing rules and bad information. Their number one piece of advice now? Just hire a good local lawyer. It might seem expensive up front, but it can save you from huge mistakes and a world of stress.
And that brings us to the final step. And honestly, this is the most important one of all. Step 5, defining your why. This isn't just some fluffy philosophical question. The answer you come up with is the compass that will guide every single decision you make from here on out.
And it really all comes down to this one simple but powerful choice. What are you actually chasing? Is your goal a life of luxury? You know, the big house, the fancy car, all the expensive stuff just in a warmer climate? Or is it a life of freedom? A life where you trade all that stuff for more time, more experiences, and more connection.
And that's not just some philosophical fluff, right? Your answer literally changes everything. If your why is luxury, that $7,000 a month income probably isn't going to cut it. But if your why is freedom, that same amount of money could buy you an incredibly rich life. Your why tells you how much money you need, it helps you pick your location, and it actually defines what a successful life even means to you.
So there you have it, a 5-step blueprint from a real-world journey. So the big question is, what's your answer? Are you chasing a life of luxury or a life of freedom? I'm genuinely curious. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And hey, if this case study got you thinking, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into financial independence, passive income, and designing the life you really want to live. Thanks for hanging out with me today.